My name is Alexa Height. I am the Scholarly Communication and Copyright Librarian here at Mary and Jeff Bell Library.
Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about obviously formatting, and Amanda is going to talk about forms. Alexa is going to talk about copyright. So there's going to be a lot of great things to talk about tonight. So kind of the agenda for today, we're going to talk about some important dates. So as master's and doctoral students, what those dates might look like for you as you approach graduation, checklist items that are super important. We'll obviously go over thesis and dissertation formatting and what our templates look like. And we'll also talk about some common errors that we see when students submit their thesis or dissertation. We'll talk about what the submission process looks like. Obviously, we'll talk about copyright, and then we'll answer any questions that you might have. Like I said, I'm in like presentation mode and I can't see anyone's faces. So if you have a question, or Alexa and Amanda, if you want to chime in, you can just totally chime in because I can't see your face. So I'm just kind of talking to myself, it looks like. And for those of you joining us, if you have a question, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask at any time, or you can wait until the end, whatever you feel is necessary.
All right, so I'll be taking over for the next couple of slides, and I'm going to talk about important dates. So there are important timelines for both the master's and the doctoral, pretty much every semester, beginning, really, I guess, big dates around the time that you're in the semester you're graduating, but there's a couple of things that'll come up before then. We do have these important dates posted actually a year out on our website. And so we'll have that link up towards the end where you can find these important date calendars, but we just wanted to post a couple here. Master's dates are showing right now. And so for those who are on the thesis track, or MFA, or Master of Fine Arts students, there are some important dates in terms of when to submit forms and when to submit theses. And then on this second slide, it's going to be the doctoral dates. And these, again, they're going to relate more towards your semester of graduation. And we'll go over some forms a little bit later, but what you want to know is when you're actually going to defend, you have to do an agreement to schedule your defense. So that's always 8 weeks prior to graduation. And the last day to defend will be 6 weeks prior to graduation. And we do update these dates about a year out on an academic year basis. So right now we have up until summer 2022, so that would be next year, on our website, and we'll share the link to where you can find these important dates for the semester. So kind of related to this is our checklist. There's a lot of things that our doctoral students and our master students, a lot of forms that need to be submitted for different things. When you're putting together your committee for your dissertation, when you're scheduling that, we look at making sure that you have a degree plan submitted, just a preliminary, things like that. And we do have a checklist that'll be dependent on your level, so master's or doctoral, and it'll have all of the forms that are required and when they're going to be required to be submitted. So you can see for our doctoral students, there's forms A through D, which on our checklist, it'll actually specify what these forms are. So Form A is degree plan for our doctoral students, and for our master students, it'll just be a degree plan. And so good thing would be to make sure that you go to our website, and we'll again include that website link at the end that actually has these checklists available for you to download. And for you to kind of keep with you, either electronically or print them, and you'll be able to check in with your faculty advisor and your academic advisor to look into any of these forms. As the audit compliance coordinator, I am the person who keeps track of these forms as well. So if your faculty advisor or your academic advisor can't kind of help you with that, I'm happy to be that person to look into this and say, hey, I have some questions about forms. Where do I submit them? Where do I find them? What do I need? I'm happy to be that person for you. But we do have checklists which will designate all these forms, give you a full title, have them available for download, have instructions for submission, and then I'm happy to provide any info as well. But we will provide that link for these checklists at the end of the presentation.
Awesome. So we're going to kind of jump right into some general formatting guidelines. So thesis and dissertation students, I first and foremost want to start off by saying that what you're doing, not a lot of people accomplish. So that's really great. And I know that once you work really hard on this document, there's some, when you get to the end, I see this a lot. I understand you're totally done looking at it. You're tired of thinking about it. But once you submit on ProQuest, there are some additional steps that we have to take. And the reason we take these additional steps is because we want your document to look perfect. You worked really hard on it. You poured your blood, sweat, and tears probably into it. So it's really important that we take these extra steps to make sure that it looks great too. So some formatting, some general guidelines. So you're going to submit through ProQuest, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit on kind of like some steps. You need to make sure you have 1-inch margins on all of your pages, and we'll kind of talk about what that looks like too. And then the preliminary pages is where we see the most common errors. And I'll pull up a template here in a minute so we can kind of scroll through those preliminary pages. But those should really be consistent with the 12-point font, Times New Roman, and page titles are always in all caps. So these are just some general formatting guidelines and things to keep in mind as maybe you're putting your final touches on your thesis or dissertation. So the order of the preliminary pages, sorry, that always gets me tongue twisted, is super important. So I'm going to pull up the full thesis traditional template so we can kind of go over that here. I'm going to have to exit out of this real quick. Okay. Okay. Can everyone see this Word document? Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
All right, your faces go away, so I'm just like, I feel like I'm talking in the dark here. Okay, so this is the traditional thesis template. And as you saw on the website, depending on whether you're doing a thesis or a dissertation, there's sometimes different templates depending on what program you're in. But for the most part, our students are sticking to the traditional templates. So the first page is what we call the title page. Kind of what we talked about. You're going to have your title up here at the top in all caps, a thesis by, and your name in all caps, and the university that you got your bachelor's from. And then you'll remove this box. Some people leave the box. I'm like, you got to delete the red box. And really, this template is a great way, a good starting point, or even if you've already started and you have a good portion of your stuff done, this is a good, so when you're looking at your document, I like to have both of this and other people's documents at the same time, almost like to compare and contrast, because this is really what we're looking at. This is kind of the standard for submission. So we're not going to publish your work until the preliminary pages and everything kind of looks like the template. So just kind of keep that in mind. And so you'll have the university name here. Down here at the bottom, this is the month and year of graduation. So even though maybe you submit your thesis in November of 2021, you're not graduating until December. So this would actually be December 2021. Okay. Then we have the copyright page here. Again, you're just following the template, putting your name and the month and year of graduation. And then we get down to the committee member page. It's similar to the title page, except here we're going to have our committee members' names. And just make sure that it's like, for example, if I was your chair, it would be Sophia Zahner, comma, PhD. Obviously, I don't have a PhD, but you wouldn't put Dr. Sophia Zahner. So just remembering to look at the template and kind of looking at those small minor details that might be overlooked. And then we get to the abstract. And this is where we're going to start page numbers. We're going to start on Roman numeral 4 here. So I know that could be odd, but that's where we start numbering. And then as we get kind of closer, we're going to get to the table of contents. And this is really one of the trickiest parts of the document. So I know some people get really frustrated with their table of contents. So I'm not a wizard, but there are some tips and tricks that I know. But really, I've gotten them from trial and error. So really, it's sometimes just about playing with the document. You can always do the undo button, and I would always have a backup of your document. So those are just some things to keep in mind. But yeah, this is going to be one of the hardest parts, I think, as far as formatting goes. Okay, and then we just get into some other things. So maybe you have a list of figures and a list of tables. And then we get into the body of your work. Again, it's really important that this doesn't exceed the 1-inch margins. You see how I can click this little arrow down here. Anything that goes, so like this would get cut off, but that's okay because it'll get deleted. Anything that goes outside the 1-inch margin will be deleted, or it will get cut off during publishing. So that's why it's really important that if you have tables, charts, graphs, words, if they extend outside the 1-inch margin, we try to catch that. But once it goes to publishing and it gets printed, those things will get cut off. So that's why that's really important. Does anybody have any questions about the template? No? Okay. Then I'm going to go back and share this here. And again, you're going to have access to this PowerPoint. And as you can see, I just clicked this here and it took me to the template page. And just like on the checklist page, all of those are clickable links as well. So you'll have access to this PowerPoint on our Grow page and access to this recording as well. So you'll be able to access all these resources later on. So something that we see, like I just talked about, that's really common is things falling outside the margins. And this could be super detrimental to your data, to your charts, your graphs. Like I said, we do our best to catch every single one of those margin errors, but sometimes, you know, we look at lots of, oh no, can you still see my PowerPoint? Oh my gosh, this screen is like totally, now I'm having technology errors. Okay. So it's super important that we try to keep everything in. So some tips and tricks that I've learned in Word. So you will go to the View tab and you click Rulers and Grid Lines. And once you do that, you should be able to see this grid pop up on your document. This will let you know what's inside the 1-inch margins. And so you can see here that this graph is going to fall out on the right-hand side. So usually this would be a revision that we would flag. And I would just say on page, 42 of your document, figure 2-15 cuts off on the right-hand side. So I try to be really specific because I know that you could have multiple figures and things like that. So but before you submit, make sure you check your margins because once you submit and then you have to go back and fix margins, it can really throw off your document. So if you're able to catch these errors before, it might save you a lot of time later on. And so that's how you can check your margins in Word. You can also check your margins in PDF. So you would just go to the View tab and then you would click on Show/Hide, Rulers and Grids. And then you would click on rulers. And at the top, it would pull up the ruler for you. And what you can do is you double click the hash line at the 1-inch margin, and it'll snap this blue line in place. And you can do this on every single page. So you could scroll through the document. And if there are things that you think are super close to cutting off, snap that blue line in place and see how close it is to the 1-inch margin. If it's maybe too close, you might want to move it. If it runs off, obviously you're going to need to fix it. But this is just a good way that you can kind of check on those margins before you submit as well. Okay, so I think margins is probably one of our biggest errors that we see, along with some of these other ones. So sometimes we see signature lines on the committee page, which you saw the template, we don't need the signature lines. Sometimes we see different kinds of font sizes. Really, everything should be 12-point font. Different kinds of justification, like I said. Um, Sometimes you start page numbering on the title page, but again, we don't start that till the abstract. And then sometimes, again, your tables or figures extend beyond the 1-inch margins. So these are just some things to look at and look for while you're kind of going through your document, whether you're still writing some chapters or whether you are kind of putting, like I said, the final touches on your document. And I have my contact information at the end. So if there's any questions that you have about any of these errors or anything like that, that's what I'm here for as well. Okay, does anybody have any questions about anything that's been covered so far before we kind of switch gears a little bit? Okay. So submission guidelines. So basically you'll go to the evtadmin.com/10UCC and you'll create an account, or if you've already created one, you would log in. And ProQuest makes things pretty easy as far as going through and setting up your account. On the left-hand side, you'll see kind of like a checklist of items. And as you complete each item, it'll check it off until you get to the very end. But we do kind of have a detailed like visual presentation on our website, as far as like it gives you like screenshots of what the ProQuest submission process looks like. So if you wanted to see that, the link is here for you. And it might be beneficial if you're kind of concerned about the process, but it is pretty simple, and ProQuest kind of lays everything out for you step by step. And then once the green check mark appears, that you kind of completed that step and you can move on to the next one.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about binding. So just to let you know, that is handled through ProQuest. It is required that you purchase one copy of your dissertation or thesis for the library. Though you're welcome to purchase as many copies as you'd like for yourself as well. It may be that your department requires you to purchase a copy specifically for the department. So always check in with your department specifically to see if that is going to be a requirement. Right now, the only requirement is a university copy for the library. Anything that is color graphic that's included in your work, that's going to be reproduced in color at no extra charge. So just keep that in mind. And the document itself, the printed binded copy is shipped approximately 8 to 12 weeks after approval of manuscript for publication. So that means typically about 8 to 12 weeks after graduation. So it can be some time after graduation before that's physically received here in our office of the College of Grad Studies. And then we do look that over, make sure it looks good, and we will get with the library to make sure they receive it.
Yeah, and I will say that if you order one for yourself, it'll go directly to your wherever you decided to purchase it to. So it won't come here. You won't have to come pick it up or anything. It'll go straight to the address that you inputted.
Yeah, thanks for adding that, Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
And just to get an idea of distribution and costs, so there's going to be a couple of costs that are associated with getting ready to graduate and getting everything in that needs to come in. So some of these costs are going to be required and some are going to be optional. So as we talked about, is going to be that one copy that's going to be required for College of Graduate Studies for the library here, and that's going to be $48. The personal bound copies, that would be, anything you decide to add on. So that's going to vary depending, if you want a hardcover or soft cover and how many you order. We'll look more at costs on the next slide as well. And then there's also going to be a dissertation service charge of $100. We do have the link here. That is paid, that's due 4 weeks out from graduation. And so we have the link to go ahead and get that done once you're ready. And it does appear on the checklist. And you would actually, we'll get a receipt of that. You would send that to Grad College. And so if you have any questions about that, please reach out to Grad College. And then Alexa's going to go into the copyright fee and open access publishing fee, which would be, an optional cost. And here's a little bit more in terms of costs. So you can see when you're ordering your dissertation or thesis, hardcover or softcover would be the option, and different sizes are available as well. It does look like if you buy more or order more that it's a little bit of a savings there. So keep that in mind.
I thought I saw a hand up a couple slides ago, so I'm just going to pause before I start talking about copyright if somebody had a question.
It was me. I had a quick question. Did you say, thank you, by the way, did you say that the dissertation service charge that's $100, it's 4 weeks before graduation or 4 months? Does that make sense?
4 weeks.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And we'll like I said, we do have those dates in our calendar a year out. And
Oh,
so
okay.
those will be in the important dates, and we'll share the link to that, or reach out to me if you need it.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Alexa.
No problem. Okay, so for both the copyright and open access fees, these are both optional fees. So I'm going to explain what they are and what the benefit would be to you. So for the copyright fee, it is $55. And essentially what it is it's kind of an insurance policy. You own the copyright to your work unless you publish it elsewhere, either during or after the time that it's published with ProQuest. So we are publishing the work through ProQuest, but you are retaining your copyright. So you still own the material. But if somebody were to infringe on your copyright, so the rights that you have as copyright owner are things like sharing it out, making copies, hence copyright. And so if you were to take someone to court to, file somebody plagiarized you or infringed on your copyrights, your fees would all come out of pocket. So that $55 is an insurance policy that if you want to take somebody to court in the future, you are not as responsible for the fees. And some of the fees are listed out here. They can range from $750 to $150,000. That's a lot of money per copyright infraction. That is a lot of money. So $55 can seem like a lot when added up against all the other fees we're talking about. But compared to $150,000, maybe not so much. So it is optional. It is up to you. It's an insurance policy, right? I don't plan to get in a car accident, but I have car insurance anyway. Next slide, please. And if you have questions, please feel free to interrupt and ask them. So for the Open Access Plus, this is again completely up to you. The benefit is that it ensures the widest possible exposure of your research. So when your research is published in ProQuest, it is published under a paywall. So everyone at TAMUCC has access to it through the ProQuest database, as well as something I'm going to talk about in a minute. But if you want to make sure that anyone can access your work, you do have the option of paying that open access fee. This is what's considered gold open access. There are several models of open access. And because you are publishing with ProQuest, as you upload your work into the ProQuest system, you are agreeing that a copy of your work will go into the TAMUCC repository, and this is considered green open access. So at some point, your work will be made available on the internet. People just have to be able to find the work, so they might not know this. So if they're using the ProQuest dissertation and thesis database, they might, hit that paywall and not look for it in other places. But if they're, searching on topics similar to your work in Google Scholar, they might come across the version of the work that we host in the repository. So if I were to pick a fee to pay, I would say go for the copyright because your work will be made open access through the repository. But again, this is completely up to you, and I'm happy to discuss either copyright or open access more with you.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions about that for Alexa? No? Okay. So after you submit is basically what happens is myself and Amanda and a lot of people here in the College of Graduate Studies, we kind of get a notification that a document has been submitted through ProQuest. And basically the first thing I'm going to do is I go and I review your document. So if you've submitted a thesis, I pull up your thesis and I pull up the template right next to it. And I kind of, like I said, compare and contrast. And I will find any revisions that need to be made. Any revision notification is going to come directly from ProQuest, the ProQuest system. So whatever email you use to set up ProQuest is the email that those revisions are going to go to. So it's really important that you check that email. I know, Alexa, last time you mentioned that it's important for them to use maybe their personal email. Is that something that you mentioned last time?
Yes, so that is actually for like post graduation. So I believe you have the option to provide more than one email.
Okay.
So if you want to use your TAMUCC email for the back and forth of submitting your work, but if you could also provide a personal email, and this is because if you have an embargo on your work, so as I mentioned, if you are publishing parts of your thesis or dissertation, or as a whole with another publisher, you might be asked to put an embargo on your work for both ProQuest and the repository. And we sometimes get requests to have access to those individual works that are under an embargo. So things that were published this year, they might not be made publicly available until 2023, but we still get requests. And so we would like to be able to pass on those requests to the author. It is up to the author's discretion to share their work with those individual requests. It is considered, and it's an acceptable practice for authors to share their individual works with one-off requests rather than just sharing their entire work on the internet according to publisher policies. So that's a long-winded explanation, but if you could provide a personal email so that later, if you have an embargo on your work, we can still get in touch with you, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's just important that whatever email you use, you check, because we may be trying to contact you about revisions. And so I would say that 99% of the time there are documents, every document basically needs either minor revisions or major revisions. And so the sooner you can get those revisions done, the sooner you can, not think about it anymore, and we can kind of move on from this stressful process. So it comes in, I review it, and I let the student know if there are any revisions that need to be made. Once you send it back with those revisions, I will review it again. And if I see no further revisions by my eyes, I will send it off to another CGS staff member to review. They'll review it. If it's good to go, then it's passed on for the final review. If they find additional revisions that need to be made, it'll actually get kicked back to me, and I'll notify the student again that the revisions need to be made. So the revision process can take one email, it could take multiple emails. It kind of just depends. And don't feel bad if we email back and forth or you're confused. You're more than welcome to reach out to me if what I say doesn't make sense, because I know sometimes emails and words, when I'm trying to explain something on a Word document, might not make much sense. So I definitely want to make sure that you understand what I'm trying to say, and any way that I can clarify that for you, I'm happy to do that. So once your document has gone through all of the checks and it looks good to go by 2 CGS staff members, you basically get placed on the final approval list. And on that list, Amanda will check to make sure that you have all of your checklist requirements. And once she does that and you have all your checklist requirements, we do review the document one more time, and then basically you are sent off for publishing to ProQuest, and you'll get a notification when that happens as well. And like Amanda said earlier, that could be after commencement, so don't be alarmed if you haven't gotten that message before you walk across the stage. Are there any questions about that? No? Okay. So these are just some of the helpful links. These are all of the kind of things that we talked about today, along with some just additional resources like the catalog, the handbook, the important dates that Amanda talked about, a list to the forms, the templates, and master's and student pages on the College of Graduate Studies website. So again, you'll have access to this PowerPoint. This is kind of a great resource to have here because you have all of our really helpful links all in one place. And then we just kind of want to let you know that we are a resource for you. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm sure this process hasn't been easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And I'm sure there has been some stress as you've made your way through your thesis and dissertation and your program. And we want to make sure that you know that we're a resource, that we're here to help you in any way that we can. So you can find us in the faculty center. Those are our office hours. Grad College is kind of our main email, and that's our main phone line down there in the left, bottom left. But you can also reach out to me directly if you have questions about formatting or really questions about, you know, whatever. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody that does. But we just want you to know that we're here for you. We're excited. This is a really exciting time. And you're submitting something that you've worked really hard on. So we want to celebrate that with you, and we want to make sure that you make it to the finish line. Excuse me. But does anybody have any questions about anything? No?
I don't have a question, but I want to say thank you for the template because it's driving me completely nuts and bananas, all this formatting. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I forgot that you have it, so that is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Absolutely. And like I said, I am here. So even if you just have questions, I can't fix it for you, but I can kind of point you in the direction of resources and kind of just, you know, even if you want to meet with me in person or virtually to kind of go over your document before you submit, that's what I'm here for. So whatever you need from me, you definitely let us know.
Thank you, Sophia. That's excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you so much for this. Like, I had no idea. I didn't know what I didn't know. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And it's a daunting time, I'm sure. So you've spent a lot of time working and preparing and writing. And so I think sometimes the last thing on your mind is if your margins look okay, because you've been so worried about the content. And so I really do see students that get to the end, and I feel bad too, because I'm like, you know, I know you've worked so hard, but your graph on page 37 is going to cut off, you know. So I like to get to students before, so towards the end, when you're preparing for commencement, you're ready to celebrate this monumentous occasion, you're not worried about if you know, your graph is falling off the page. So those are just some things we like to think about, and any way that we can kind of make this less stressful for you, that's what we're here for.
Hey, Sophia, quick question.
Yes,
That template, and because I'm going to be the first one to use it, because it's, if I remembered that would have saved me hours already. But is it formatted for the APA 7s, or is it, do you have like a guideline as to what are you using?
So it is formatted. It's actually I don't know about APA, but it's just approved by our colleges. So
Okay.
really, APA wise is going to be kind of where your citations come in. It's not necessarily like an APA template. So you still want to stick to APA within your document as far as content goes. But that's the approved template for the college.
Gotcha. And the reason I'm bothering you, because APA 7s got rid of the running head it doesn't do this no more. And then
Yeah.
reference is sort of different. So I was kind of thinking, I'm happy either way, because like I said, if you have a template, but the page numbering, anyways.
Yeah, I know. And I've played around in Microsoft Word so much, it makes my head want to fall off. But the undo button has been like my best friend, in this position. Like you try something and you're like, oh my gosh, I just erased half of the document. Undo.
No, I do versions. I don't trust it. Like version 1.
Yeah.
I have backups
Yeah.
because
Well,
I heard stories. Yeah,
Yeah, I
people
have
losing their work. Like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
I'll never. You can kill me now. It's not going to happen again. So it's like daily. I do something. I just throw in versions in the back so I can. If something happens, at least it's not the whole
And
thing.
I do want to say that like I said, it's very rare. And I've only been doing this since February of 2020, which seems like forever ago after the year and a half that we've had. But I haven't met one student that submitted and it's been perfect. So don't feel this like pressure that you have to just get it right on the first time. I think that's super unrealistic and that's an unrealistic expectation to put on yourself, because like I said, there are some things that you're not going to catch because you're so lost in the content of your work. And really Amanda and I's job is to find those small details that you might have overlooked. And so don't feel like you have to submit this beautiful, perfect, shining thing. I mean, we're here to make sure that it looks good before it's sent off. So revisions are normal and they're a normal part of the process. So like I said, don't feel so pressured that like if you have a period or a comma in the wrong place that it's going to be the end. We'll find it and we'll fix it and it'll be okay in the end.
Thank you.
Of course.
Now, is there any special formatting for the proposal document? Does it go anywhere or it doesn't go anywhere? It just...
We don't look at that. So that would probably be something that you'd want to work out with your committee.
Okay, but there's not a requirement from the college saying this is the format. Okay, good to know. Because I kind of followed the structure of like almost dissertation, but without 2 last chapters, sort of. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's why some people get caught up on the committee member page and the signature lines. So no, we don't have a template for that.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? And like I said, this will be available to view the recording, and then also the PowerPoint that we use with all the clickable links will be on the GROW website as well.
Can I ask a relevant question? I
sure.
signed up, but I missed the IRB one. Did you guys post the recording? Because I kind of looked and maybe I missed it.
Nope, you didn't miss it. It's like in my cloud. Floating around.
Okay.
So IT is yeah, I'm working on it. It like
Sounds
got
good.
lost in my cloud somewhere. I don't know. I don't know if
Oh
it's
no!
like me
Oh
switching
no!
from
No!
Simplicity to OneDrive or something like that. I don't know if I'm just like I've lost it, but it's in there. So
okay, so there's hope, right?
yeah, I'm hoping to get it up by tomorrow, but
oh, that's great. That's as long as it's in the works. I just thought maybe I'm missing something that's staring me in the face. Okay, that'll be great. Okay.
And I can email it to you.
No rush. I'm not proposing till mid-November. I have time, but I was trying to look ahead a little bit. And I really wanted to come, but it was like kind of come in the middle. I couldn't. Anyways, long story.
No,
I appreciate the recording greatly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Anything else?
Do you mind if we schedule a meeting with you like when we're starting working with the document? Just to like make sure we're getting formatting right and learning like any tricks prior to having gone through everything.
Yeah, that's totally fine. And I can show my email, and I'll even type my email out here in the chat one more time so you have it.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, whenever I work here in the faculty center, and I also work up in GROW. So whenever you need me, you just call on me and we can set something up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Anyone else? No?
The library is also here to help.
Yes. And Alexa has some really great library workshops as well. So make sure you check out the library workshops. They're super beneficial. And I'm assuming you probably record those too, Alexa?
Yes, we have a guide where the recordings are posted to. And actually next Tuesday, I am doing a workshop workshop on copyright and author's rights. So if you are interested in publishing your work elsewhere, it might be an interesting workshop for you there. I'm trying to find the link to, we have so many guides, it's hard to find. Here's our workshop guide for you. I'm
Lots of
putting
good
it in the chat.
information.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there is a tab on there from past workshops, which includes the recordings for those.
Yes.
And if you have workshop ideas for us, let us know.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just important to remember that we're all a resource. So whether you direct something to Alexa, myself, or Amanda, and we can assist you, we definitely are just a really good starting point. So we want to make sure that, like I said, it's the least stressful process. I'm sure that's easier said than done after you're done writing your manuscript, but we just want to make sure that, you know, when you're on the home stretch, you're so close to the finish line, and that you get to enjoy it when you get there. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming and logging in and being here with us. Please feel free to reach out to any of us. We're happy to help. And good luck writing and dissertating and thesising and
all this good
all that fun stuff. Make sure you get some sleep. And then don't forget, Grow has free coffee whenever the library is open. So feel free to pop your head in and get some free coffee. I actually just set some candy out. So there's candy and there's coffee. I even put tea and chai latte stuff next to the Keurig. So go and help yourself, and don't forget to breathe, and let us know how we can help you.
Appreciate you all so much. Thank you.
Sure. Hope everyone has a great night.
Great. Thank you so much, all three of you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.